Hey guys, I just wanted to take a look at what a fair test is. I know we had mentioned it in class, but it would be nice. I made a just a quick video to kind of recap what we talked about in class. So I'm using one of our gizmos here. So recap again. We've been talking about variables. Independent, obviously, is the variable that's changed in an experiment. Dependent are our results, the data we're collecting. How are we going to know the effect that the independent variable has? And then we also had our control group or our constants, things that remain the same. So if you look here, let's hit variables just to make sure that we understand. Let's say, I wanted to talk about how light affects the growth of plants. Okay. So first, I'm going to have to change the amount of light that the plant is exposed to. So here, I'm going to turn off one light. In this particular scene, I'm going to turn off two, and then I'm going to keep three on right here. That's the one thing that I've changed. So the light is my independent variable. Now, I'm going to use a tomato plant for this example. Okay. I have same amount of water, and I'm going to give a little bit of fertilizer here. So we'll add those guys in. And then I'm going to run my simulation. So this is much easier than actually growing the plants, because sometimes it can take, obviously quite a few days. But so you'll see down here, the days are adding up. You can see the plants are starting to grow. I believe the simulation runs for about 60 days. So you can also see up here what I have. I have a tomato plant, soil, and I have fertilizer. You can see that each plant is exposed to that. And it's also giving me some data. So I have the height and the mass. Now in class, we talked about we're only going to test one independent variable at a time, but there could be more than one dependent variable. So here, again, like I said, I'm looking at height and mass. That's my dependent variable. Now you'll see my constants are, I use the same type of plant. I used soil in every plant. I used fertilizer for every plant. And I used the same amount of water. Now, let's talk about fair test versus unfair test. This particular example that you see here is a fair test because I've only tested or changed one independent variable. Once you change more than one, you really can't say which variable had the impact on your results. So your test would actually become invalid. So let's reset this. Okay. If I was, let's say I wanted to test the amount of, sorry, let me turn these back on. Let's say I wanted to test how the amount of water affects the growth of plants. And I said, okay, plant A, I'm going to give 80 milliliters. Plant B, I'm going to give 50. And plant C, I'm going to give 30. Okay. That's my independent variable. But now I'm going to use a bean plant, a tomato plant, and I'll use a turnip plant. Okay. Now I've just created an unfair test because not only did I change the amount of water, I've changed the type of seed, okay, or the type of plant, I should say. What if I turned, some lights off too? Okay. Again, now I have one variable that's changed, which is the water. I have a second, which is the type of plant. And I have a third, which is the light. I've created an unfair test, which causes an invalid test, or the validity of my results could be challenged. So it's important that you always, in order to create an unfair test, you only test one variable at a time. Now, could you create a whole separate experiment where you test different plants? Yes. Or then you test the water? Of course you can. But that's what a fair test is.